Hey, everybody. No, I hear something. Oh, that's in there. That's right. That's in there. Do do do. Good evening. No. Oh, see, we're starting out on the wrong foot already with this one over here, you guys. Get this one, okay? So I am Dr. Tori J. I'm super excited to be back. Last week I wasn't on, but we are in our How to Love series. I am your founder and CEO of the Fatherless Generation Foundation, and tonight, as we talk about how to love, I have to. Uh-oh. I have to play the song so that you can listen to this song that goes along with it, because it's like the theme song for this now. Okay, so hopefully you can hear it. It's kind of weird that it's playing kind of low.
I wonder how many people have.
Hola, Nydia.
I wonder how many.
Hey, Mr. Casey. I see you on there, son. How are you, Juanita? So, I just think it's because it hasn't been rebooted. So we're going to play our song and get into this series, How to Love. And then tonight we're going to specifically talk about looking for love. And most of us look for love in all the wrong places. And as we're doing that, we run into all the wrong characters. And that's what our song is really talking about. For those of you who, my husband wanted to play it on his phone on the Sonos system. I didn't want that to happen because then I can't control it. See, there I am. I'm being a control freak. He's over here shaking his head, Nydia. Come get him. Nydia, come get him tonight.
Yeah, we just bring a speaker out for you, baby.
No, thank you.
We'll do that for you.
He's being so nice. He's being so nice. Hey, how are you, Celeste? So as we talk about how to love, look, I'm going to have to ask him to do it because the iPad is being a little slow. So go ahead, but can I have the control?
Nope.
I'm kind of. I'm going to, yeah. I probably could just sing it, but
Your Apple Music.
my Apple Music?
That's your Apple Music.
See, look, this is what happens when you try to be prepared, but for some reason, that ain't gonna work. That's not gonna work. Not from Apple, no, on your phone. I don't think he's connected to my Apple Music. Is that not right that that's all you got? Okay, we're gonna work on that. We're gonna work on that. And then I pulled this out. Can you plug that? He helps me get set up, y'all.
Talk what?
This one it says it's not plugged in. He helps me get set up. So let's see if we can get it a little louder tonight. Let's see. That's not the one we're playing. See? You see how they did that to me? And now it's louder. Sometimes you just gotta reboot. It keeps freezing up. Well, hopefully I can give you a little love here. How did I play it last time?
Speaker.
I think they can hear. You got the Christy Dyshell version?
Lil Wayne.
I don't want the Lil Wayne version. Okay. Hopefully you guys can hear that. I need a new assistant, Nydia said. So listen to the song. It's the Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne did this song originally, but Christy Dyshell is my girl who's singing this song, and I love this version of it. And it's about how to love. Remember that?
You had a lot of crooks trying to steal your heart. Never really had love, couldn't ever figure out how to love. How to love. You had a lot of moments that didn't last forever. Now you're all grown up, trying to put it together. How to love. How to love. When you were just a Young girl, your looks were so precious. Now you've grown up so far.
Yes, Celeste, go to FB.
Can't have a man look at you for 5 seconds without you feeling insecure. You never prided yourself, so when you got older, it seems like you came back 10 times over. Now you're sitting here in this corner, looking over your thoughts and looking over your shoulder.
Yeah. He said Lil Wayne.
You had a lot of crooks trying to steal your heart. Never really had love, could never figure out how to love. How to love. You had a lot of moments that didn't last forever. Now you're all grown up, trying to put it together. How to love. How to love. I want you to know that you deserve the best. You're beautiful. I want you to know you're far from the usual.
Far from the usual.
You had a lot of crooks trying to steal your heart. Never really had love, could never figure out how to love. How to love. You had a lot of moments that didn't last forever. Now you're all grown up, trying to put it all together. How to love. How to love.
So we're gonna let that fade out right there. I was listening to this song. I love this version of this song. And I'm into hip hop. I'm a hip hop head. My husband jokes because he's a jazz person. And Celeste says, I'm loving the song. Celeste, it's one of my favorites right now. I love Christy Dashell. And so just to give you a little tidbit and background on that. Yeah, Christy Dashell, she actually was on that song Sing Along or something with the Howard University group, and they used to do the a cappella, same show that Pentatonics and all them came out of. And so that's who she is. She's a jazz major from Howard University. And she took Lil Wayne, and on this CD, I'm off on a little bit on what we're talking about, but she took several songs. She's got Janet Jackson, Let's Wait a While. She jazzed them all up. Like, you got to go listen to Christy Dashell. She's pretty phenomenal. But the song really breaks down where many of us are. Yeah, where many of us are, where we all find ourselves. We've had a lot of relationships that have tried to steal our hearts. You know, we never really had luck in relationships. We didn't know how to love. We didn't know what love looked like. And a few weeks ago, because I was out last week, and thank you guys so much for your prayers and your love as I was out last week, because my aunt had passed and we were traveling to Michigan, and I was just trying to deal with getting prepared for that. So I didn't do this series last week, but we talked about the different types of love. And I know that I was supposed to add 2 more. I'm going to type them in for you at the end of this, just because I think there's so much to get into tonight, and I don't want to get caught up like I did last week and not be able to have the full-on conversation and have to try to carry it over. So I will put those into the chat at the end, because I know that I have the notes from it. But the truth of the matter is that so many of us are looking for love, but we don't know how to love. And so when we're listening to the song is really expressing where so many of us are. Not only did someone break our hearts, but we've broken hearts ourselves because of the dysfunctional patterns that we've gotten ourselves into. Looking for love means that you need to know what that means and the type of love that you desire. As we got into that the week before, the types of love, what love looks like for us. You know, some of us had to admit that we say we want one type of love, but we'll accept a different type. That's what we had to accept when we were breaking it down. Like, I say that I want this type of love that God promises me, this, you know, the kind of love that's romantic and the kind of love that's unconditional, like God is unconditional, the kind of love, you know, that is all of these different levels of love. But in truth, many of us stay in one place, or we venture off into places. One is called ludus love, which means I'm independent, You independent. You don't help me with much, but we come together to have sex, right? Eros, that's the romantic Cupid style. Even brought up the fact that it's interesting that I did not know until I really looked into what Eros really meant. Is the truth of the matter is Cupid is even blindfolded and he's the epitome, he's the caricature for Eros love. He is that person. So you blind, you walking into this situation blind, you walking into a situation where I'll ignore that red, that red flag because I want the relationship. I want to feel valued. I want somebody to claim me. That is all coming from your fatherless stuff. It's all coming from there. God is the agape kind of love, right? He gives this unconditional love. And I believe that we need to find ourselves leaning more towards that because a person is going to show you their flaws and the things that that are not perfect about them, and we have to give them grace. That was something we got off our marriage call, and I'm a person who gives grace, but I don't give enough grace sometimes. And then I'm a person of perfection. Like I try to operate at a level of perfection and, as we call it, excellence. And you can get yourself in trouble, and then you try to put those traits upon your mate, and then they can't live up to that. And so we have to allow people grace, and we don't, because what we're really doing is we're finding ourselves cycling between Eros and Ludus love a lot of times, especially when we're fatherless. Let me see. Nydia said, only we know how to love the way we're taught as children. That's very true. Or she said, or we only know how to love the way that we were taught as children. That's very true. It's based on what we see. It's based on what we know. So let's get into this, because the one thing I want to point out from the get-go is too often we expect the people in our lives to love us more than we love ourselves. Let me say that again. Too often we expect the people in our lives to love us more than we love ourselves. Why do we do that? How do we do that? And I know that I have to take into account, and you have to take into account, that you more than likely don't even know that you're doing that. You don't know that you're expecting someone to love you more than you love yourself. And if you do, it's at a very, it's at a subconscious level that you know that. Like maybe you come to the realization of that, but most times people don't know that. There is also a place where we believe that we deserve this dysfunctional, toxic behavior kind of love because, like Nydia said, it's how we grew up. And let me pause because I didn't give the disclaimers. I see there's new people on here. This is engaging. I don't want you to just listen to me. I don't want you to listen to, I don't want it to be about listening. I want you to engage. I want you to put in the comments, because some of you, I'm here to facilitate in a way, and I have some information to provide and some wisdom. But in the truth of the matter is, there are some of you who are watching, who are going to chime in or come on to this Facebook Live. You have some things too, because you've walked through healing yourself. And also, as my husband just typed in, please share this. I don't feel like crying tonight. Okay, what does that mean, Celeste? You don't feel like crying tonight. Do you normally feel like crying? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Because I want you guys to understand that when you get yourself in and I have to look at my notes often, when you get yourself in a place where you feel like you deserve negative behavior, toxic, dysfunctional, even sometimes abusive behavior. And abuse doesn't mean that someone's just literally always putting their hands on you. Sometimes that's emotional abuse. Because the truth of the matter is, when you don't love yourself, when you have issues with loving yourself and you expect people to love you more than you love yourself, you have to realize that people are going to see those insecurities in you. They're going to see your vulnerabilities and your fears, and they're going to capitalize on them. That's why so many of you have issues with being vulnerable, because you were vulnerable, you were open to the wrong people. You shared your fears with all the wrong people, and now the right people have come along and you don't know how to share. Okay. She said, no, ma'am. I don't feel like crying tonight. I need to know. Well, I'm glad you don't feel like crying tonight. I think one time you did. I think that's what you're trying to say. And watching our Facebook Live, if I remember correctly. The truth of the matter is you will have people there's always going to be people who try to capitalize on your trauma. There will always, I need y'all to put that in the comment section. There will always be people who will try to capitalize on your fears and vulnerabilities and trauma, your insecurities. There will always be people who will try to capitalize off of your trauma. The issue is you have to realize you have trauma and get over it. Not just live in it, but recognize and acknowledge it, and that you need to grow from it. That's how they're able to do that. Yes, okay. Sometimes we cause our own pain by picking at someone so they can do the negative things you expect to be done to you. I hear you, Nydia. Sounds like you got the t-shirt, because I know that we've had conversations and I have seen people do that. I can't say that I've never done it. I can't think of a moment right now, but yes, sometimes we cause our own pain by picking at someone so they can do the negative things you expect to be done to you. Absolutely. That's the truth of the matter. That's the truth of who we are. I want to share something here. I read a blog that I'm going to post, and the blog had some really good stuff in it. And I even wore my Wonder Woman shirt, almost like I had it on and I was like, I'm not going to take this off. This is perfect. I'm going to post the blog later, and I'm going to post it into I got to figure out how to post it into the Instagram. Maybe, yeah, I got to figure that out. And then I'll post it onto Facebook. So those of you who are Instagram, I'll have to figure out how to do that. But I'll post it on Facebook when we're done. But this blog talked about this particular young lady who grew up without her father dipped in. Hey, Dryer Buzz. She grew up without her father, but at her birthday party, I don't remember what year it was, but at her own birthday party, she decided that it was going to be a costume party, and she wanted to be Wonder Woman. And I don't know why she picked Wonder Woman. Initially, I didn't know, but I know now. But initially, she picked Wonder Woman, and she gets to the birthday party, and all of the girls are princesses, pretty much. And then there's one cowgirl. And she's like, well, she stood out, and I stood out. And so we've got a situation where all the girls are princesses. And she says to herself, well, being a princess never dawned on me. It never even came to came into my mind. One of the reasons is because princesses have daddies, is what she said. I was like, whoo! I never thought about a princess having a daddy. Never even crossed my mind at that point. I was like, oh. She never even considered that, because a princess has a father, a princess has a protector, and someone who slays dragons. Hey, Randall, I'm listening to you from Dalton, Georgia, Wonder Woman. Well, thank you. But a princess has someone who protects her and a man who slays dragons. And she had no father, no protection, and no one to slay a dragon for her. Now let's look at the male side of that. Men, boys, you never think about being a prince in that way, if we're going to flip it. Because you were never shown how to be a protector, and you were never shown how to slay a dragon. And so there's a thing about saving a woman that makes you kind of leery, I'm sure, too, especially as you get older. There are things that men are dealing with that are so suppressed and so buried in their subconscious concerning their romantic, ideologies and thought processes. But one of those things happens to be is I was never taught how to be a dragon slayer. I was never taught how to be a protector. I protected my mother from my father. But what does that mean? Do you have to protect how do you protect, I guess, your spouse from a situation when maybe you're the person who is acting like your father? Maybe you've picked a man like your father, and so then how do you navigate that? Because if your father was an alcoholic or he was abusive, and that's some of the individual stories who are on here. A father who was abusive, verbally abusive, physically abusive. He was an alcoholic, whatever that looks like, right? So then you become that. So how do you protect the one you love from you? How do you do that? Because you weren't taught those things. What we tend to do is we emulate what we see. And that is why looking for love is so challenging for us, because how we look for love is very much so what Nydia said. We only know how to love the way we were taught as children. And whether you grow up and you're hell bent, I'm not going to be like that. I'm not going to have that situation. And because you suppress so much of it, you don't remember half of it in the first place. So then you create the same dysfunctional cycles that you said you would never allow, that you would never let happen in your life. There was a moment where I also read something online, and I want to share a couple of things with you. These are bullet points for a true reason, because there's some good stuff in here that I want you to know. You can find yourself seeking healing and healing options that are destructive as well. So once you get past the point of, I'm going to get myself, I'm going to acknowledge my pain and I'm going to get healed and then you start looking for healing, because that's going to be your, with what? The relationship you have with your therapist is still a relationship. And if you have not learned how to pick a good relationship, you're still picking bad therapists and bad juju and bad blah, 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 whatever that is. Because one girl, I was reading her blog, and she was like, I went to this person, I went to the omen, I went to the fire doctor, I went and did a retreat in the rocks, I went and did she did all of these things. And then she finally found the one. Sometimes when we're dealing with how to love and we're looking for love, some of us, we got to go through a journey of figuring out what works. And prayerfully, we find our truth or our healing and our therapy or whatever that is before it's too late or before we're traumatized even more. I want to say this to some of you, and I mean this with all love and sincerity. The desire to be liked or loved has caused many of you to leave your true self when dealing with relationships, whether romantic relationships or friendships, business relationships. Done that, got me into a whole lot of trouble. Professional relationships, we tend to still have issues with our pickers, right? We're not picking right. So the desire to be loved and even liked can cause you to leave your true self. You abandon who you really are. The young lady in the blog, it made me think of her when I wrote that down, because that's what I wrote down reading her blog. I thought about how she decided at a certain point, being Wonder Woman, no man was looking for a Wonder Woman. No man was looking for a woman of empowerment and a woman of this and, strength. They were looking for pretty. They were looking for, docile. They were looking for humble. That was her perspective. And I said, wow, she felt like she had to be something different in order to be loved. When we're looking for love as fatherless children, you cannot mute yourself, kill yourself, die down yourself, unless that's the dysfunctional part of you. There's some things we talked about on here where Shay and Nydia and Becca and all of us have shared how we had to die and kill that part of ourselves because it was dysfunctional. It was harming us. It was causing us danger. It was causing us trouble and trauma. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the part of you that's awesome and the part of you that's great. And you dim your light so somebody else's light can shine brighter. That's the part of you I'm telling you. You can't leave that part of you and that part of your true self in order to be loved by someone. Because once again, that person's going to take advantage of you. They're going to take advantage of that. You seek relationships you hope might retroactively solve all of your problems. There's a place within us where we have decided that the relationship with our father was so painful and so traumatic, we're going to try to find our daddy in our relationships. And I know that sounds very feminine or from a female perspective, but men, sometimes you are looking for a very masculine female to then have a relationship with, so that then she can have this masculine father voice, as we talked about before, in your life. But even in the midst of you getting that, you reject it. In the midst of you getting that, you fight against it. And you know why you fight against it? Because it's not normal to you. It's abnormal to you. I want to read something from one of the blogs that I emailed to myself. And I'm going to tell you why. Because she said something that sparked something in me. It was like, whoa. Let me see. turn this around. I'm going to open this up just because I think that's the perfect place to put this. You seek relationships you hope might retroactively heal, fix, solve all of your problems. How do you do that? What does that look like? One lady actually said, I want to see if I wrote it down because I think this is important to say. I didn't. I put it in, I made sure I sent myself the link. I'll go on, but I'll find it and we'll come back to it. The other thing I want you to know is when your own father doesn't want you, it's hard to imagine that someone else will. That's somebody else's reality. That's somebody's reality listening right now. That's someone's reality right now. That you believe that when your own father didn't want you, it's hard to believe in your heart. It's hard to believe in your mind that somebody else wants you. And you have to throw that truth out. Because that's a lie that you've come into agreement with. And it has truly been leading and directing and guiding your life and keeping you from the love that you're desiring and that you deserve. Looking for love should not cause you to have to dumb down yourself and belittle yourself and feel like you deserve abuse and disrespect and feel worthless. Looking for love shouldn't make you feel that way. Looking for love shouldn't put you in a position where you always are looking for love, but you looking for love between your legs. And men, I cannot, but Nydia, come get him.
Oh my God.
Come get him.
I'm sorry.
I heard it, and I bet you see. Come get him. Did y'all hear him? He said, looking for Nub. Looking for Nub. He's singing the Eddie Murphy version. Isn't that on SNL? Looking for Nub. I heard it in my head when I was doing this earlier. You're okay. He all scared. He like, oh man.
Nydia, you gonna get me.
Nydia, he's scared you're gonna get him. But I want you to know without question and without a shadow of a doubt, just because your father was absent and he wasn't present and he didn't want you, that does not mean that you are not worthy of love. That does not mean that no one else will want to love you. You have to understand that. Number one, it's not your fault. You are not the reason for the situation. And therefore, you have to go on with your life, understanding that my daddy might not have been present. He might not have been where I needed him to be. But your fatherlessness is not the excuse of all of your failures. Holding on to the pain is, though. Let me say that for you again. Your fatherlessness is not the excuse of all your failures. However, holding on to all the pain surrounding your father's absence and your fatherless journey is the reason and excuse for all of your failures. You're not failing because your father was absent. You're failing because you won't let go of the pain associated with it. You won't take the time to journey back to heal. Remember, I always say sometimes you got to roll backwards in order to roll forward. And that's just the truth of the matter. Sometimes going backwards allows you the perspective and the ability to see where you went wrong. And many of us are going wrong by holding on to the pain and then trying to create situations where someone replaces the person who brought you pain. But guess what you've done? You're still picking the same kind of person. You're still picking the same person. You pick the same kind of guy like your father or who your father was painted to be. Because some daddies, they wanted to be present but weren't allowed to be. And so then you have this idea of, and then he said, I'm going to need you to stop it. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make you cry. I promise you I'm not. But I want us to heal because we desire love. And I believe that God has a love for you. But the reason you haven't gotten the love is because of all of this stuff that has been placed, in your life and has kept you from what you desire and what you deserve. Hold on. Did you guys know Wonder Woman in the original series didn't have a father either? I found that out tonight. I keep finding, during this How to Love series, I'm finding out stuff I didn't know. Wonder Woman did not have her father either in the original series. How about that? How about that? Hold on. And I'm going to pause just a little bit to give you guys, yeah, we deserve the love and all the love from the right people. And then we deserve, that other person deserves the love from us and the patience and the grace. I'm going to share something. I can't take credit for this. I got to give it to my coach. Our marriage coach said something tonight. I said, whoo, I had to tap my husband. I had to tap my husband on this one. He said, give people the room to change and they will give you the room to check them. So we always want to tell somebody where they're doing wrong and how they're doing this and all that. Give people the room to change and they'll give you the room to check them, to hold them accountable. That's a little side nugget that ain't got nothing to do with tonight. But I think it's a great moment because we have an expectation. We have a way of moving as fatherless children where we're replacing the pain that we have concerning our fathers with a person. So then how do we replace? We get real sexual. Fatherless children, and I've said this before, fatherless adult children, I don't want you to think I'm talking about little kids, are highly sexual, but rarely intimate. Fatherless children are highly sexual, but rarely intimate. And that's just the truth of who many are until they come into the healing process. And so if you're fatherless and you've got issues, you're attracting who you are. And if you're attracting who you are, then you're attracting someone who may even be lying to you about loving you. Love is an action. You can see it in how someone moves and how they things that they say to you, as well as the things that they do to you. Love does. I know some people, I've been reading these articles that people have been posting. Love doesn't hurt. It doesn't cause pain. Well, that's not true. Because some people may love you, but they have their own journey that they've gone through, and they don't mean to hurt you. They don't mean to give you, they don't mean to cause you pain, but they're walking through their own journey. And I know so many single women are like, well, he should have had that done, and he should have blah, 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 before he came here. But there's some stuff you didn't have done either. It's a great look. Do grace race. Like race every day to give grace to somebody. Be in a race every day to give grace to somebody that you love. I am not referring to someone who is constantly abusing you, constantly taking advantage of you, constantly using you. That's an issue with boundaries. You got to set up boundaries. You have to set up boundaries. This is the quote I wanted to say to you guys tonight. This young lady said, I left a toxic relationship, but my dysfunctional patterns didn't leave me. So when I'm talking to you about the desire to be loved can cause you to leave your true self, and then seeking relationships that you hope might retroactively solve all of your problems, I want to sandwich this quote from this particular blog right in there. I left a toxic relationship, but my dysfunctional patterns didn't leave me. They followed me from one relationship to the next as I was unconsciously trying to fill the void my father left. That's where I'm getting to. When you own the fact that your father left, and then you try to replace that hurt and that love that you wish you had from him, the fantasy that you wish you had, because how many of us know that we have fantasized on who our fathers would be once they were in our lives? Oh, when he in my life, he gonna be blah, blah, blah. I'll tell you right now, my father was not that. He was an awesome person, but I had to give him grace to be that. He wasn't perfect. And then when you're growing up, let me go to a save, folks. When you're growing up in church and the scripture says, yes, praise him, amen. The scripture says that he's a father to the fatherless. So guess what? You got God as your father, and then your natural earthly father shows up, and he is not the perfect God that you've had as a father all this time. Guess what happens? You're like, this is not a good dad. This is not a good look. This is not what I hope for. Your father is human. Your earthly father is human. So there are going to be imperfections that you need to have around you so that you can know what love looks like. Love is not perfect. God is perfect. That's why so many of us have issues, because we've been in church and we're looking for this perfect Jesus, this perfect Most High God to show up. And those are two different people. Y'all even meshed the two people together. Jesus and God are not the same thing. That's a whole nother Bible class. That's a whole nother thing. But y'all meshed them together. Perfect in every way. Didn't sin. Let me go there. For you Christian ladies, when it says Jesus didn't sin, it didn't mean he was perfect. It means that he followed the law. He followed God's law. He was obedient to God's law. So for you to get into this space where you expect a man to be perfect, otherwise, you ain't got time for him, you're going to find yourself alone. And you're going to find yourself, when you get to heaven, whatever that looks like, because I don't know. So that's one thing I don't venture into. My husband and I have those conversations. I don't know what it's going to look like. But when you get there, you're going to be the person, like that parable that people tell. You're drowning. You found yourself drowning, and you drown because, you're like, well, God, why didn't you send this and that? And he said, well, I sent the boat. I sent this. I sent the helicopter. And you were like, oh, God going to save me. But he sent all those things. That's what you're going to be like. You're going to be that person where God says, I sent all of that stuff to you, and yet you didn't see it, didn't hear it. I want to get off on a tangent really quickly. Men, I want you to listen. I want you to glean what's for you. This is specifically about women, and I want to share this because this was a little clip that I read earlier today as I was preparing for tonight, that I cannot, just like the quotes that I quoted earlier, I could not let those be, and I can't let this be. This was this was like 4 years ago this girl wrote this. So she says, in my opinion, you have different types of fatherless women, and they can't be grouped into the same category. There's the accomplished, educated, and financially stable fatherless woman. Their expectations of others will always be high, like off the Richter scale, especially for their men. They want them to do what their dad didn't do. They want to be taken care of despite their status or accomplishments. They want to be secure. They want to be loved. And this may seem what every woman wants. But for a fatherless woman, the expectation level is multiplied by 100. Yes, they deserve all of those things, but some may have issues accepting the care and love. They may not even realize what they want is right underneath their nose, but they have a hard time receiving love. I need to tell you guys this. I don't care how accomplished you are as a male or female. The problem with so many of us as fatherless children, male and female, is our expectations are super high. And men, your issue turns into you got all of that too. You're successful, you got financially stable, all these different things. But then your mother was a single mom. And your mother being a single mom, you have this expectation that, guess what? She did everything. She cooked, she cleaned, she went to work, she had 3 jobs, she was at your baseball game, she did all this stuff. And now you have an expectation of your wife, your girlfriend, that she's going to do all of those things. And guess what? Those things were done in dysfunction. Those things weren't done because that's part of her role. That's what she's supposed to do. They were dysfunctional. She did them while crying. She did them while tired. She exhausted. She did those things because she had to, not because she wanted to. So you men have the same kind of crazy cycle going on in your life too. And then you can't find the right woman or a woman because she don't meet up to these expectations. Her hair always done. I don't know how many of you have seen that show, The Marvelous Life of Mrs. Maisley. I think is that what it is? Maisel. And she goes to sleep, acts like she goes to sleep, then wakes up, puts her hair in rollers, takes all her makeup off, wakes up before her husband, takes the rollers out, puts her makeup back on, and looks like she was just all cute all throughout the night. That's what y'all think what women are supposed to do. Now, I won't lie, my husband hates my scarf. I had to figure that situation out, because how many of you know as a black woman, you got to put a scarf and a bonnet on this thing of some sort. And my husband did not like the scarf action, so we had to find a compromise. But I need to tell you, I'm not finna wake up in the middle of the night to look cute for you. I'm just not gonna do it. I want to sleep. Nydia. Hold on, let me go back to this because I got some interaction here. He said, give people the room to change and they'll give you the room to check them or hold them accountable. Yeah, he put it in the chat because that was a moment. How do you say your name? Amaruk? Amaruk. Nydia says, people want to have their cake, but don't see the ingredients God sent to them to make the cake. Message. We don't see it. We don't pay attention. And then Nydia said, I wake up with dragon breath.
Ew.
She said, didn't he get you a satin pillowcase? That helps. I don't like satin on me. I don't like it. Mm-mm. We talked about all of that. I don't like it, Nydia. So I have a Marge Simpson, as we call it. It just sticks it up, and he's cool with that. Makes me think he's got a crush on Marge. But I needed you guys to know that because, and here's the other one. There's another one. I kind of digressed a little bit there. But when we're looking at these expectations, some of you are so beyond yourself, so in a place, hey, Wendy, happy birthday. Some of you are in such a place where the person that you're supposed to be with is right under your nose, but your expectations has created a situation where you just can't even see them. Then the other group that she talks about here, she talks about the group who feels like they don't deserve it and feels like they're, because their dad wasn't present. Yeah, because their dad wasn't present and their parents didn't sleep in the same bed, so they don't deserve this and that. And they find themselves taking love and relationships that are less than what they're worth. Which one are you? I would probably put money that we all have a little bit of all of that in us. But I know in my life, I am the overachiever. I am the person who, I had an expectation of who I was going to be with. And the moment I relaxed, not my standards, but relaxed my expectations, there is a difference between expectations and standards. And some of you get those all crisscrossed and all crazy. And so you think, well, I'm not going to lower my standards. And men are like, well, I'm not going to lower my standards either. And you guys are all like dancing around each other. She cute, you cute, or maybe they're not cute enough, or I got a type and all this other stuff. How is that working for you? Has the type got you where you want to be? Has the type gotten you any closer to the love that you've been looking for? Has the type gotten you there? Probably not. Probably not. And then when it comes to you ladies, and this is why I think so many marriages find themselves in trouble after so many years, probably the first year. You morph into what you think someone wants from you. That's another thing when it comes to fatherless individuals when they're looking for love. Not only do you downplay you and quench all of who you are, you also morph into who you think they want you to be. Just totally change everything about yourself. Completely and totally. Why do we do that? Because eventually the true you is going to show up. We call that the representative. And God forbid you hold on to the representative way past dating into marriage. And then you're like, well, this is who I am now. Well, that's who you always were. And you didn't want anybody to know it. So then you decide to show up in marriage and wonder why your marriage didn't work out. And that goes for male and female. You did it just long enough to get the title wife or husband because you actually coveted those titles thinking that they would give you legitimacy, thinking that they would give you value when you were already legit, when you were already a person who God had already blessed and said you were worthy and valuable, when you were already a person of worth. But instead, you lied all the way up into matrimony, into marriage, and then decided to take off the sheet and be your true self and was like, well, it didn't work out. It was never set up to work out. You didn't lay the proper foundation. Marriage is not an easy thing. My husband and I always say marriage ain't for no punks. Yeah, Ebonics style. Because marriage is designed to heal you. It is going to reveal your deepest, darkest, suppressed, oppressed childhood trauma in ways that you didn't even expect. Stuff you don't even remember happened to you. You don't even remember it. And other things that you're like, oh man, this is that moment. This is coming up. This is happening. My husband was in Michigan with me this week, and I went home for the funeral. And being around family tends to bring certain things out, right? So he got to see a lot of different things. And one of the things he got to see was I am super ticklish. This is a TMI moment a little bit. So my husband will try to get all romantic and he'll try to snuggle up next to me in a certain place. And how many of you know that armpit and you grip it real tight? I'm so ticklish. And so he's like, I'm not even coming for the armpit. I'm just trying to get close. And I'm like, because I'm ticklish. Like, and he was like, you're not that ticklish. It's not possible you're that ticklish. Well, look, he threw his hand. So we're sitting at the table talking. My uncle's there, my cousin Kathy's there, and there's several other family members there. And my uncle clearly knew that my cousin Kathy was ticklish. And all he did was do this and tap her arm. And she was like, ah, and almost fell out the chair. And I watched my husband's eyes go. Because at that moment, he was able to see, maybe she is really that ticklish because I'm watching her cousin off of the pure thought that my uncle was going to touch her armpit. She just starts, I mean, her laugh was loud and she's about to slide out of the chair. There was even a moment right before we all left that he tickled her the next day. He tickled her and they all fell down. Tokyo's even on top of them because they're on the ground. And Vark was outside doing something, packing up the car, I think he were. And they all fell down because clearly being ticklish runs in my family, right? He said, But that allowed him to see something that at times he was a little offended about. At times he was a little offended. And it wasn't because I was trying to be mean. I'm just really ticklish. Gave him a whole new insight. But for 6 years now, he's like, you ain't that ticklish. And it took one visit. Well, not one visit. We've been home multiple times. But took a funeral. I hate to say that. And several people coming in for him to see that part of me. Just simply from being ticklish. So I use that lightly. But marriage is here to heal you. Marriage is here to reveal some things. And don't take stuff so seriously. Breathe. That's one thing I don't do. Because in looking for love, I was looking for, how good does it look to the eye? Like how do people view this? How do I view this? It's nice to take my husband home and people to meet him for the first time. But it wasn't from a place of, oh, I get to take my husband home and I got a husband, so that proves that I'm worthy. Because I'm going to tell you, Nydia, girlfriend, there was a season in my heart that I didn't even realize that was validation for me as I'm talking about it with you, as I'm talking about it with you all tonight. There's a place where you will find yourself in a bad, thank God I'm not in a bad situation, an abusive situation where I wanted my marriage to validate some things about me. I didn't realize it at the time. But as you're going through this journey, you're like, why are you here? Why do you long for this? What keeps you here? What keeps you fighting? And you have to answer some really hard truths. You have to answer some really hard truths. So I'm going to give you 3 points tonight before I get off of here to help you understand how to love when looking for love, right? Number 1, own your truth. Trust who you are, know who you are, accept who you are. And anyone you're with, they have to accept who you are as well. Show them who you are, not those parts. Don't give them the vulnerability, insecurity, and fears. I'm talking about who you are as a person. Start to show them bit by bit. Some of us show this person who we are way too soon. And then we give them all the secrets and then they use it. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm telling you to own your truth of who you are and express that lovingly, not the dysfunctional you. I always got to give these prefaces and these prerequisites. Not the dysfunctional you. Once you get to a certain stage, you have to tell people that. But don't show no. Don't cuss people out. Don't give people, own your truth to you. Number 2, stop people pleasing. Stop morphing into whatever somebody wants you to be in order to get love and acceptance. I never did that in my marriage. I never did that in dating. Who I am, as I always say, I'm dope. So I'm going to show the dope side. But I'm going to tell you the real side. And let me say this to you too. There were some major issues that were happening to me in the midst of us dating. I could not hide. Embrace that. Embrace that. Find yourself in a situation where you stop people pleasing and you allow. I'm going to give a 2A. Now I'm going to give a 3. I'm going to give a third one. I'm going to make this one on my page number 4. After you stop people pleasing, number 3, go through a season with someone. You want to see how they handle hardships, trials, and tribulations. Not just for you, but for themselves. Because so often as women, we look to see how he handles when we have a crisis. Can he slay a dragon? Can he protect me? But the question becomes, when he goes through challenges, can he navigate? Does he find himself in a depression and all angry, and that's when you find yourself in an abusive cycle? You've got to find that out. So number 3, go through a season with someone to see how, and maybe it's 2, and see how they navigate job loss, family loss, any type of trauma and drama. See how they go through that. Number 3, accept you are fatherless, but release the pain. That's my number 4 for you. So number 1, own your truth. Number 2, stop people pleasing. Number 3 that I've just added, probably need some of y'all to type these in here. Go through a season or 2 with someone so that you can see how they handle your stress and your trauma and drama and how they handle their own. And then number 4, accept you are fatherless, but release the pain. That's what I need you to know. Because the moment you do these things, looking for love won't be so hard. Looking for love won't put you in a position where you have crazy expectations of someone that they can't even live up to. Looking for love will become easier because sooner or later you won't have to look for it. It'll just show up and find you. It'll just come your way. So that's what I have for you guys tonight. And Nydia, maybe I should try the satin pillowcase, but that's what I have for you guys tonight. Put that on there. I don't know. I hope that you got something out of it. I saw Nydia chiming in saying, I got something. Oh my God, I need you to stop. This is for me. I can't always see who's on here when I'm on Be Live. Are you on?
No, I can't see anybody.
Oh, that's right. He can't see either because it's not his page. Maybe I should make him the admin. Own your truth. Stop people pleasing. Go through a season or 2 with someone. Accept your fatherlessness and accept your fatherless, but release your pain. You have to. If you don't do that, you're going to end up in the cycle, and you're going to be that person who keeps attracting your father. It's like the young lady said, she kept breaking up with a person, but then her patterns followed her. And she would continue to look for the person who, was like her father. That's not good sometimes. And typically they're like the father or you heard about. Got to ask those questions. We'll talk about that another time. We'll talk about that a whole nother time. Oh, Celeste, I hope it helped you, my love. I pray that it helped you. It's important for me to always help us find love because you know our love story, Celeste. And even through this journey of being married, our love story is what that is and how we came back together. But this journey on this side of it, one day maybe we'll write a book and he'll have his side and I'll have my side and then we'll meet in the middle somewhere because it's not easy being fatherless and being married. The statistics are against us because we don't know how to love. We've been broken hearted a lot. We've met creeps and men have met women who just, I saw a post tonight. The girl said the main dude, and then they had the drink dude, the weed dude, the dude who gave her rides, got her hair done, her nails done. It was like 8 different men. And I'm like, and she probably sleeping with all of them. Because there's no intimacy there. It's all for an outcome. It's all for results. Celeste said, I always catch it when I need it most. Now, there you have it. That makes it all worth it, Celeste. That's it, right? That makes it all worth it. We need to trust that our journey of finding love and how to love is all in God's divine plan. It's all what it is. Oh, yes, and your love story keeps me motivated not to give up on love. Yeah, don't give up on love. One day, my husband is becoming more and more of an extrovert. So one day he gonna sit right here and we'll share more of the journey on this side of marriage, because dating. You see what you say? Nah. I don't believe that, y'all. We gonna pray. He gonna do it. Um, when the women pray, you know what they say about that. Um, he will eventually sit on the side of me. That's what our purpose. That is our mission and our God-given purpose together. I know it. So one day, y'all come get Tokyo. One day he's gonna sit next to me, and we'll share this side of the journey because people need to know and they need to hear. So I will leave you guys with that tonight. Tuesdays are my longest days. You guys pray for me. On Thursday, I will do Help is on the Way. And in doing Help is on the Way, I will be in DC. And so I'll take some time out, probably down in the lobby or something, and see who I can grab and get them on my Facebook Live for 30 minutes at 1 o'clock. I'm going to DC for the CPAC convention. I'm excited about some of these people I'm going to meet. So let's say, come on, Varric. Yeah. He coming. He's going to come. So I'm going to CPAC convention, but I'm excited about sharing with you guys what I get there. And then we're just going to continue to grow and build this How to Love. My podcast will come out on the 2nd. It is an audio podcast at this point. I got to get back to Atlanta to film. I've got 5 episodes that I'm going to film. It will not always be filmed, but this time I'm going to do audio and go from there, right? I've got some events coming up. I will post those. I think I posted them on the Fatherless Generation Foundation page. I've got the Canadian tour for those of you who chime in and you watch from Canada. Just know I'm coming to Toronto. I've got 2 events in Toronto. We decided to do 2 sessions in Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal. I will be there in like 2 weeks, and I'll be there for about 10 days traveling. Can't wait to see Canada. I've only been to Windsor on the other side of Detroit. Other than that, I've not been to Canada. I'm concerned because it's cold, but I'm going to go to help heal the people, and then I'll then go to hot Vegas and do the Stellar Awards, where we're going to have the Journey to Reunification out in Las Vegas. And you guys just pray for me as I continue to do all of this and manage the Fatherless Generation Foundation from afar. And I will talk to you guys soon. Just remember, I'm Dr. Tori J. I'm the founder and CEO of the Fatherless Generation Foundation, and you truly deserve the love that you're looking for. All right? No. Because I'll be in Canada still. I'll still be in Canada. All right. I will talk to you guys later. All right. Bye-bye. I'm in this one over here. And I'm in this one right here. You guys have a good night. Bye-bye.